The atmospheric river resumes and we have a lot of high wind throughout the central part of the US. Good morning, I'm meteorologist Putes, December 18th, 2025. So starting with the Pacific Northwest with this atmospheric river, most of it is happening around Oregon, but places like Southwest Washington and Northwest California are going to see this rain. And so you can expect moderate to heavy consistent rain throughout the day and throughout the night. And for Oregon, this probably won't end until about 7 a.m. tomorrow. But at that point, Washington and Oregon still may see some isolated scattered rain. A lot of that consistent heavy rain for tomorrow morning is going to be shifting down to Northern California. So for Northern California on Friday, definitely expect that heavy rain to come through. So why is this all happening? If we look at 500 millibars of midwinter troposphere, we have a lot of extratropical cyclones or low pressure systems coming from the Pacific Northwest. And this is being navigated by this really strong high pressure that's sitting around the Southern California region. And with high pressure being clockwise flow, this is why we're having this ridge. And as this high pressure goes to the east, eventually this is why we're going to have a lot more warmer air for Christmas week. But speaking of these atmospheric rivers, one of the remnants of the low pressure system that came from over there is now around the Minnesota and Canada area. And this same low pressure has caused a lot of wind throughout the west and Rockies and the plains. And we're going to see this continue all the way from North Dakota down to places like Texas and throughout the Midwest. We're going to see winds from 35 to 45 miles per hour sustained and wind gusts maybe up to 70 miles per hour. So from the north, places like North Dakota and a little bit of Minnesota, you guys are going to have a blizzard with all this wind and some snow accumulation from 1 to 4 inches until about 6 p.m. Central Time today. And speaking of high winds, today we are going to see a little bit of more high winds in places like Oregon and the eastern portions of the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada. And so overnight and tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of wind again for places in the northern Rockies all the way to the plains. But if we go more to the south, to places like Kansas and Oklahoma, you guys are going to have a critical fire risk or a 2 out of 3. This low pressure system has brought in a couple things. One, a cold front, and that's bringing in cool dry air, but specifically that dry air. But also because of this low pressure being counterclockwise flow, now in this position, it's bringing in more northwesterly flow from the Rockies. And what we saw from the eastern Rockies yesterday, we saw a lot of dry air come down from the mountains. And so we're going to see relative humidities from 15 to 25% in this area. And because we have a lot of high wind, it's going to make it really easy for fire to spread. By around like 6 p.m. Central Time, as this wind travels more eastward, it will wind down just a little bit, where we're going to see winds from about 25 to 35 miles per hour sustained. So from the Mississippi Valley to the southeast coast, definitely expect some rain today and possibly a thunderstorm. And then overnight into next morning, places like the northeast are going to see this as well. Specifically in the southeast, we do have a little bit of a marginal risk for severe weather, where some of these storms could have an isolated risk to produce winds up to 60 miles per hour. And the reason for that is because we have a surface high pressure in the Atlantic, and with that clockwise flow, it is bringing a lot of that moisture from the Atlantic into this area, bringing in more fuel. And then not to mention for the Great Lakes, we're going to see some lake effect snow with this low pressure coming through. We're going to see this for today and tomorrow morning. This includes the southern portions of Lake Superior, the eastern portions of Lake Michigan, and the eastern portions of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.